click clack, heartbeat. Click clack, heartbeat. Ink flow, thought grow so speed. From your street to my street, we meet in the space where the paper and the palm greet. Type pals all around the world, all around. One small key for every girl and boy. Letters like a long, slow song unfurled. Postcards carrying quiet joy. Type pals all around the world. Send love from my
Hello, welcome everybody. I'm sure more people will be joining us soon, but I am Gregory the Poor Typist. I am the curator or host of Type Pals at typepals.com. So thank you for joining us. It's good to be back on what I hope is going to be a regular monthly basis. So so that's very cool. I see some familiar faces and some new faces. Um, Is there anybody that would like to introduce themselves or have show and tell or anything like that? All right,
Sure.
Andre, go
Happy
ahead.
to go first. Hi, everybody. New here and relatively new to Type Pals. I think I've been on for maybe a couple of months. Uh, I work in the analog photography products industry for a company called CineStill. We make photographic film, at-home film developing kits, the equipment to digitize your negatives, pretty much the whole start to finish analog
Mhm.
photography workflow. And this obsession with all things anachronistic led me to mechanical watches. And then, of course, it was only a matter of time before I started dipping my toes into typewriters. The collection has quickly grown in the past 4 months, thanks in no small part to the good Mr. Joe Van Cleve, who's just joined us here.
Yes.
We've got a mutual friend who dabbles in many areas, typewriters, film cameras, um, lots of cool things. So yeah, happy to be here.
Excellent. Just a few questions for you. How many typewriters do you have, or do you care to say?
Oh boy, I think I'm at about eight that are functioning and five that are in various stages of needing to be cleaned and fixed. So.
Okay.
mm.
And do you have a favorite?
I would say the current favorite has been the little Webster, what is it? XL747 JP1 clone. Um, just love that color. Very similar to my alma mater, Carolina Blue, and has just been a great conversation starter when I bring it out in public to type on. Invariably, there's a lot of folks in the area that stop me, and I let them kind of bang away on it, start some cool conversations.
Nice, nice. So you like taking your typewriters out and about?
Yeah, yeah. Something that felt a little scary, but again, give Joe a shout out there of like, it really can't be that bad. Started with the portable electronic thermals just because they made no noise, and I was a little concerned about bothering people. And as my confidence grew, started bringing out the manual mechanicals, and as long as I place myself in an area that's not right there in the middle, I usually feel okay to make some noise.
Okay, okay. And how how proficient do you feel in repairing typewriters, or is it something you don't really do?
I've taken apart, I think, five of the thermal wedges. Been able to fix a couple. Some things are a little bit beyond my pay grade right now. Should probably invest in a multimeter and a soldering iron at some point. On the mechanical side, anything that hasn't been able to be fixed by compressed air and some odorless mineral spirits, I've set aside for having somebody more experienced take a look at them. But I did get a chance actually to meet a gentleman named Dave, formerly of Area Office Machines in Sarasota, Florida, while I was down there visiting family, and found out from getting him to fix my sister's tower ultra portable. That he's the main repair tech for Steve Budden of Classic Typewriters.com, who's based here in Chapel Hill. So yeah, what a small world. So now I know that anytime that if I don't want to, ship something necessarily, anytime that I'm going down to visit family, I can bring a typewriter with me and drop it off at Dave's, and I'll pick it up the next time I'm in town.
Very cool, very cool. And what is your holy grail typewriter?
Mhm. Good question. I think it would be I'm Brazilian originally. I think it would be a made in Brazil Olivetti Laterra 32 with Portuguese accents. I think that would be pretty rad.
Yeah, we have a small handful of members in Portugal, so yeah.
Mm,
Nice. Very cool. Well, it's excellent meeting you, and thank you for joining us today.
appreciate it.
Definitely, definitely. Darren, you have a familiar face, but have you joined us before?
No, first time.
Oh, okay.
First time being able to work out how to get on the thing as well. So
Oh,
not very
okay.
tech savvy.
Yeah, so did you want to briefly introduce yourself?
Well, I'm here in Cardiff, originally from Cwmbran in the UK. Started, I bought one typewriter for use on display, setting up a police station because I do live in history over here, and it was to allow the public something to have a go at, something from the period 1930s. And then I realized I actually still quite like typewriters because I did learn to type on them back when I was in comprehensive. But we learned on typewriters for the first year, then went over to electrics for 6 months. And our electric ones were terrible. They kept jamming up. You'd have to unplug the damn things because they would not stop. They jam up on one letter, that'd be it, rows upon rows. So I'm not a big fan of the electric ones. But yeah, basic shouldn't really be collecting them because I haven't got the room for the bleeding things, but it's good for the public. You can tell the old secretaries when they have a go and they just no problem at all with the thing,
Yeah.
which does surprise them when they take their kids along. They go, "Yeah, see, Mum told you she was a secretary," and then the kids love it. They love having a go,
Yeah.
although
So
they can be a bit heavy-handed.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So it sounds like you have a small collection then?
I've got 19 at the moment.
Oh,
A couple
okay.
of post-war ones, but mostly pre-war ones, pre-1940.
Oh, okay. And do you have a favorite in your collection?
I quite like my bluebirds. I've got a bluebird, which is apparently not, there's not a lot of them in the original color of blue because mostly in the UK, everything's black. It's like the old Fords. You can have any color you want as long as it's black.
Excellent. And do you have a Holy Grail?
Um, Not really, but I'm looking out for a 1933 dated typewriter because I've got every year now from 1930 to 1940. I'm just missing one from 1933.
Oh, okay.
So again,
Very
it's
cool.
trying to keep the cat fur off everything because that stuff gets bleeding everywhere.
Oh yeah, I have two cats, so I know what you're talking about.
Well, I've got two cats, but I've also got the two neighbours' cats who keep coming in here as well. So there's four of the parishes wandering about.
Yeah, there's something about cats and typewriters. Like I have this picture where my cat when she was well, one of my cats when she was a little kitten, she was sitting on the typewriter case and the case is not the right case for that typewriter, so it doesn't close all the way. So it looked like with her sitting on top, it looked like she was sitting on there trying to close it for me. But yeah, they get
Yeah,
fur everywhere. Oh my goodness. And we have
yeah.
short-haired cats, so you know. Oh, very cool. Um, do you have any typewriters near you or handy that you could show us? If not, that's okay.
Might take me a second or two to dig out the bluebird if you want to have a look at that one.
Yeah,
Because that's
sure.
probably the nicest one I got. Because, like I said, everything else is black, apart from my mother's Olympia 66, which I got resprayed red for her,
Yeah.
and a eggshell blue one. But
Ooh.
it's quite boring the colors you get in the UK because I've been looking on the internet and the colors you lot get over in America. There's some gorgeous colored typewriters, and we get all the boring crap. Uh,
Oh.
I shall dig out the blue Bluebird a sec. Hang on.
Okay. Very cool. Skywatcher is joining us. Very cool. Very cool. We'll just give him a moment, and then when he comes back, I'll make it big so we can get a good look at that typewriter. Yeah. I'm very pleased with the growth of TypePals and how many countries is it now? I forget now. I want to say it was 34 countries. That's pretty crazy. All right, here we go. Oh yeah. Ooh, that's a beauty.
That's the flat style one. I haven't seen one of those.
19,
That's amazing.
I quite like the decal of the shop where it was sold at.
Yeah, that's
I got a
beautiful.
really rubbish camera on this bloody thing.
Oh.
But the fact that it's got its original blue spools as well, which is quite nice.
Yeah. Hold on to
Nice in
those.
English. Yeah.
That is beautiful.
That's amazing. Wow.
That's in great condition.
It's a problem. You see quite a few of them. Quite
Yeah.
tatty, but it's been well looked after. Just checking for cat fur. Portable light batteries.
Wow.
It's still quite a nice typer. There's not much damage to it at all. Whoever had it must have looked after it quite well, to be honest.
It looks like it. And what year did you say that was?
1936.
Oh, okay. Very good.
Uh, just as things were slowly starting to kick off in Europe.
Wow. Thank you so much for showing
Enjoy at the moment.
that. Very cool.
I brought a few dust covers to try and keep the cat fur off everything.
Yeah.
And it still gets underneath the things.
Yep, yep. Very cool. Well, it's so nice meeting you, and thank you for joining us today. Yeah, excellent. Um, did anybody else? The rest of the faces are familiar, so if someone would like to speak up, go for it. Because Bob, go ahead, go ahead.
Sure. I'm Bob Walker. I live in Wisconsin, United States, and I've been collecting for about 5 years or so now. And what started it is that I'm old enough that my first job, which was in journalism, was back in the old typewriter days before we went over to computers. So a few years ago, like about 5 years ago or so, I thought, I kind of like to reconnect with that feeling of a typewriter. It'd been a long time. And I happened to mention it to my sister who lives in Ohio, and she keeps stuff. Not a hoarder, but she keeps stuff. And so my sister, who's 5 years older than I am, says, "Well, I still have the typewriter that mom and dad gave me for high school graduation." And she says, "Really?" And she says, "And you can have it." And she pulled it out, and it stored really nicely. It's an Olympia SM9, which is just a wonderful typewriter. Just love it. So yeah, that would answer my question of probably what's my favorite, and that's really only my favorite because there's a sentimental attachment to it. But along the way, I combined a couple things in the last 5 years. I got involved in a writers group at my library. I'm retired now. So between the typewriters and the writers, I'm writing on the typewriters, coming up with stories. And ultimately, it came up with this. I wrote a book.
Yes.
Typewriter's Block is the name of the book. And the storyline is, I'll just read the back cover. Kyle Lindsay is a freelance writer and typewriter enthusiast who aspires to be a novelist. He hopes the typewriter of his dreams, a 1967 Hermes 3000, will inspire him to greatness. The typewriter he acquires, however, has other plans. It is possessed by J.K., a spirit whose goal is to rid the world of mediocre writers, and it is determined to make Kyle abandon his career and dream. So conflict ensues. And
Yes.
it has a happy ending. So I won't give away anything more than that. But yeah, and that actually, because I use the typewriters for writing, the genesis of that story, after I got a Hermes 3000, and it was that typewriter's typewriter of the week time, that I'm sitting there looking, what should I write about? And I look at the typewriter and I say, I wonder if this typewriter thinks I'm not good enough for it. And then that was like, what if it could tell me that? So that was kind of that's where the story just kind of grew from there, from what may have been a short story at first into a novel. I also read a couple of, I've got now 7 of them, typewriter short stories where the typewriter tells something from its past in a first
Oh,
person voice. And it's based on the age of the typewriter, the type that it is, and things like that. I have an old Oliver that writes about being stored in a barn for over 60 years, losing that. Like, a 1960s little Smith Corona Corsair Deluxe that went out west with writing partner. I never say owner, that's a writing partner. A girl who ran away from high school in 1968 with her boyfriend. Oh, there you go, another book. And
well, this book Olivetti has a similar storyline of a typewriter that's conscious.
yes,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's really, and where those stories came from is when I was using the typewriters for my writing of the week. It's kind of like, oh yeah, what am I going to write now? The quick fox jumps over a lazy brown dog, gets old in a hurry. And so it's kind of like, I'd look at the typewriter and say, well, tell me your story. Where have you been? And it just came up with a bunch of things from that. I've got an old calligraph too, that I positioned at the what they called the Columbian Exposition, the World's Fair in Chicago in 1893. And when they first had light bulbs and all sorts of things, they had a working paper machine there. It was a great celebration. So anyway, that's where I come from on that. I got about 25 typewriters now, which is probably about 5 more than I really want. And so I'm kind of like trying to rehome some of them. And I did rehome one recently, and I got a couple more that are listed on Facebook Marketplace right now. So
Nice.
that's my story.
Very good. I
Yeah.
was pleased to be able to read an advanced copy of your book and
Oh,
loved
that's
it.
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And with those stories, are you gonna combine those and put them in a book?
With the short stories, I hope so. If I get enough of them, they don't come, all that frequently, and I'm not getting any younger, so it's kind of like, yeah, okay, if I go at my current pace, I'll be 115 years old when I'm ready to do a bunch of that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so that may or may not happen.
Okay, okay. I- if people wanna find your work, is there a website they can go to, or just look for you on
Actually, the
Amazon?
book is available on Amazon as Typewriter's Block, and one of the things I changed that title at the last minute. It was to be Writer's Block, and then I had the book all assembled, ready to publish. I went on Amazon and I just like did a search on Writer's
Mhm.
Block, and there was like a hundred, I don't know, 200 titles that way. My book would have ended up on page 15 of the list. So
Yeah.
oh God, what am I going to do? I changed it to typewriter's block. So now all I'm competing with on the page when you do a search of typewriter's block is a Lego kit where you can build a typewriter. Yeah, that's my primary competition for Google's search engine is the
Excellent.
Lego typewriter.
Yeah, yeah. Excellent. Very cool.
But yes, typewriter's block.
Okay, excellent. Well,
I do
it's
have a
so
little bit of a
yeah.
sequel into works too. I'm kind of like probably a third of the way through that. Whether or not that'll get done, I'm not quite sure. We'll
Okay.
see.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so good to see you again, Bob.
It's good to be here. It's good to be. I've made some good. I've got some type pal that I've been writing to for I don't know, several years already, and another one up in Canada. It's a good group. It's a really good group.
Oh, that warms my heart.
Well, thank you for doing it. Or coordinating or whatever the infrastructure for it.
Of course, of course. It's my pleasure, definitely.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to go? Because I really don't like calling on people, so I'm trying to get out of that. But come on, Joe, you want to talk to us.
Yeah, I'm talkative. Okay, I'll go. Well, it's first of all, it's really good to see everybody. It's good to be on here, right? And
Yes.
after I don't know, over a year has it been? I don't remember. A couple years? How long has it been? You know?
Probably getting on 2 years. We did have
Yeah.
the reunion,
Right. We had the
which
reunion. Yeah.
was back in
It's a great
September.
idea. I'm glad you're able to support doing this because we really, it's a great part of the typewriter community, I think. And, you know, TypePals itself, you know, the primary function being, you know, being able to write to people. That's also really important, I think, in the typewriter community. And I try to promote TypePals as much as I can in my videos. Anytime I mention about, you know, writing letters to people, I usually try to mention TypePals. So I've gotten a few typewriters though since we last were on the air, and I think all of them were probably given to me. But I don't know if I want to pull them up. But I have this Underwood Universal that is U.S. Navy Underwood Universal. I don't know if you've seen that in one of my videos. I have this SM4 in script typeface that I got from a neighborhood estate sale. I was walking the neighborhood about a half mile away. I saw the signs for the estate sale, and I didn't go in initially because I was on foot, and I figured, okay, I'll go home, shower, have breakfast, and come back. And I did that. And the very last room, bedroom, I went through the house. In the bedroom, in the closet, was a typewriter case, which I immediately recognized as an Olympia. And I didn't even open it up. I just grabbed it, took it up to the front, bought it for $20 or whatever, and you know, turned out to be a script machine. So that was pretty cool.
Wow.
And then I have a JP7 brother that is branded as a Kmart 300 Deluxe. It's the bright green one in a really nifty, kind of easy to carry plastic case, right? I really like these modern plastic cases because they have these locks that you can just slide and open the machine. And I don't know if I can get the camera angle, but there it is. It's a green, it's a 12-inch carriage brother. And the JP7 was the only brother chassis that has the paragraph indent feature, where if you hold down the margin release and do a carriage return, it'll stop indented, similar to the Olivetti's that do that. So,
You know, with typewriters that do that, I wonder, like, how well known was that feature? Like, did everybody know about it? Like, was it
it
really
was only
promoted?
Olivetti and the Underwoods after Olivetti bought Underwood and the JP7 brothers. I don't know of any other machine that did that. There may be a few models, and I like the way Brother implemented it better than Olivetti, because Olivetti, it was almost like 10 characters, 10 character indent. It was a little bit long, where Brother does this a 5 character indent, 5 space indent, which is, you know, kind of fun.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
So let's see. I have a number of videos that I'm working on, and
Ooh.
one of them, um, I'm assembling some materials in order to make the video. And like one of the materials is a keycap puller. So this is like
Ah.
a little hint, a little clue. And then the other thing I got just the other day is a digital force gauge for measuring how hard the keys are. So this is like a little instrument, a force gauge, right?
Oh.
But the main thing that I'm waiting on has been delayed by Mr. Bezos's shipping company, uh, which are keycap springs. So I'm basically going to be replacing all the keycaps on one of my daisy wheel typewriters. And the idea is you can customize the force, the feel of the keyboard by pulling the keycaps off and replacing the springs.
Oh.
So that's kind of a project that I'm going to be coming up with. And because both of the daisy wheel machines I have, I think for my particular preference, the touch is a little too light, and I'd like to make it a little stiffer of a feel to it. So that's kind of an ongoing project that I'm working toward if Mr. Bezos's shipping company would cooperate. But So we have a lady in our typewriter group, which, by the way, we're actually meeting today at 1 p.m. Mountain, 12 noon Pacific time. So I have to leave here at about an hour. Anyways, a lady of ours, a friend of ours in the group, has a Smith Corona with a cartridge style ribbon.
Oh,
So
yes.
this is a cloth ribbon, and you might be able to see that it's about I didn't measure, but it's just over a 1/4 inch thick. So it's probably about 7 or 8 millimeters thick. And so she's had me buy these for her periodically. She doesn't like to order things online. She's more, she likes, so I buy it for her, and she reimburses me. But anyway, she gave me one of these ribbons cartridges because she says it was going dry. And it turns out that, so I opened this thing up, and it's an endless loop. So it's a 2-level cartridge. The upper level is the ribbon is just in there. It's not wound on a spool. It is convoluted like, the cerebrum of your brain, just a bunch of loops, right? It just packed in there. And there is a pinch roller mechanism right up here that pulls the tape or the ribbon back into the cartridge, and it's being pulled around the top here. This is the print position, and it goes through this double fold. There's a 90-degree fold and another 90-degree fold, and then it pulls out of the cartridge. And so then the other side of that is the ribbon pulls off of the bunch and goes down a ramp to the lower end. So it's an endless loop, like an 8-track tape
Okay.
cartridge, right?
Yeah.
So I pulled the cartridge off, and I used an ink, a stamp pad ink bottle that is one of these roller ball kind of stamp pad inkers that said on the bottle, "Do not squeeze." And I thought, okay, I'm going to squeeze the thing and get and I did got all the ink on it, and then I looked like it was kind of uneven, and then so I took some WD-40 and kind of sprayed it in there, let it sit for about a week, and then I discovered that it was so wet that there's a gear in here that you have to turn to advance it, but it was so wet that the ribbon was sticking to the little plastic surfaces. It wouldn't move at all. So I ended up having to pull sections of the ribbon out like a foot at a time and wipe it with a paper towel
Oh,
to kind of dry
wow.
it off. So it's very kind of laborious and labor intensive, but I'm going to bring it back to her,
Yeah.
give it to her, and see if it works in her machine. So
Yeah.
I'm concerned that it'll be like maybe the printing will be erratic, like it'll be faint and dark, and then really dark and faint. And we'll see. It looks fairly consistent, but we'll see. So
That would
there's
be
that.
that would be a good effect for typecasting, though.
It would be. Well, so these are actually branded as Smith Corona. That's probably one of the only things Smith Corona actually makes is these ribbon cartridges and a few ribbons, right? But so I don't know how old these are. Oh, yeah, the branding is Smith Corona right there.
Rewrite.
But yeah, so I don't know how old these are, but they look like they're not super dark. They're like
Okay.
the FJI products on Amazon, that kind of like nylon ribbons that don't come very, very dark, it's kind of like that. There's a pinch roller that has to pull the ribbon through. And I guess if the ribbon's too wet, it won't pull the ribbon very well. So they can't really ink it very darkly. Anyway, there's some intrinsic limitations to those cartridges. And if you're wanting to buy a Smith Corona typewriter, don't buy one of these cartridge machines. But this lady happens to have one. So I've never messed with one of the cartridges before. So
Joe, if I can just jump in, you are amazing when it comes to taking things apart. I mean, it's incredible. The first typewriter that I actually bought new was a Smith Corona 2200 electric. It was in the mid 1970s. I was in college, and yeah, it had the cartridge ribbon thing. I just used the cartridges. I was just sitting here like mesmerized by your description of what goes on in that thing. It's because I
well,
never thought about it.
so let me ask you then, because did they have multiple colors? Because you can only have a single color in this ribbon. So did they have like a red cartridge that you would pop in there?
I never used them, but I know there was an eraser
Oh,
cartridge.
okay.
I had one of those,
Yeah.
so I would assume they did make color
Okay.
cartridges as well. And of course, it was easy to pop them out. You just
Right.
hit the little button on the side and pop a new
Right.
one in. So it was pretty convenient.
That's cool. Well, so the other thing I'll mention is I was one of the other people in our group. She had an SCM Galaxy Deluxe. This is a 6 series manual typewriter. It's actually the narrower, like the 9-inch platen version of the Galaxy instead of the Galaxy 12. And it had two weird problems. First of all, it printed real poorly. The bottom half of the characters was cut off, and it skipped almost all the time. And it took me a couple of weeks of working on it to figure out what the problem was. But it ended up being that the ring and cylinder adjustment was so far off. So if you don't know what that is, the type bar, when it hits the print position, there is a little tab sticking out on the bottom of the type bar, and that's supposed to hit that ring-shaped surface that's called the anvil. And if the ring and cylinder adjustment is proper, it hits the anvil at the same time that the typeface hits the platen. Both of those should hit at the same time, right? Well, this machine, the whole carriage was about 1/8 of an inch, like maybe 4 millimeters too far back. And so only through the flexing of the type bar was the top half of the characters even able to print. And then because the type bar wasn't being dampened by hitting the rubber platen, it was literally bouncing off the anvil before you could remove your finger from the type key, and it was re-striking and causing a skip. Right, it was actually double activating the escapement, and so it turned out to be that the main carriage bearing plate, the bottom plate that bolts to the chassis, has two screws that have eccentric cam washers that you can adjust and force the carriage up and down a little bit, but you have to loosen a bunch of other screws on the carriage to get those two to work. And if you do what I did, which was loosen the wrong screws, then the bearings fall out of the carriage. And there's 4 on the back race and 4 on the front race. And it took me about 4 or 5 days to get those back in properly. And the secret was I didn't actually have the 6 series service manual, but Richard Polt on his website, there's a manual for the electric version, which is very similar mechanically as far as the carriage is concerned. But the secret was to follow that procedure exactly, except you want to immobilize. So the ball bearings are maybe about 5 millimeters, 4 or 5 millimeters, and they have a little star washer that they sit in. And the thing is to get a dab of Vaseline or heavy grease and immobilize each of the 4 bearings so they sit there, because the washer has to sit vertically with the ball bearing in it, and it'll fall over. It's just so you immobilize them in grease so that you can put it together one half at a time. And I finally figured out how to do it. And then they recommended in the manual using a special screwdriver that was wedge shaped, and you jam it through near the print position to hold half of the bearing thing up. But I just used tie wraps, cable ties, and cable tied it together and then flipped it over and did the other bearing race. Anyways, all that to say that once I got that set again, once I got the anvil position set properly, the printing was good. I had to redo the ring and the upper and lowercase printing, and then the skipping was done. It was not skipping anymore. So I had a few other problems with it. The ribbon wasn't advancing properly, things like that. But that was probably the most difficult repair that I've done recently. Pretty challenging, but I'm going to be bringing that machine back to the lady today at the meeting. So.
Oh, okay. It looks like William has a comment or a question for you.
Oh yeah. Hey, William.
Oh, hi, Joe. Great to see you. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Okay. On the side load carriages, those ribbons are 5/16 of an inch wide, and the colors available were black, permanent, black correctable. No, I'm talking about the film. Black
Oh
permanent,
yeah,
black correctable, blue, green, brown, and red.
Oh, wow.
very
And
good. Thank you.
what Smith Corner used to say was red is authoritative, blue is assertive, green is fresh and vibrant, brown is earthy and friendly, and black is for general correspondence. Now the black film rewrite was actually a lift-off, so you had a lift-off cartridge as well.
Yeah.
And the other one you had the strike over cartridge, which was basically correction tape on a reel.
Yeah.
Now, what I have done on the one-time film is to take one to pieces and reload it with, it was a 5/16 Roy type carbon polythene ribbon that was used on the Royal typewriters, where you had the two reels on each side, and and after I'd done that, I took the green ribbon off that cartridge, and there's 450 feet of it on there.
Wow.
And yes, I have taken an endless nylon to pieces, and when all that ribbon goes bing all over
Yeah.
the desk, that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Now I do understand that the nylon ribbon, endless nylon ribbons were also available in red. Whether they were in other colors or not, I don't know.
Right. Very good. Thank you.
And as far as holding the carriage balls and what Uwe calls them are the anti-creep wheels, I found that plumber's grease or silicone grease is very helpful.
Thank you.
I think that's what I want to say about that one.
Excellent.
Excellent.
Thank you, William.
And yep.
I'll jump in and say hello.
Okay.
I'm Katie, and I'm in St. Paul, Minnesota. Bob Walker, what city are you in?
Wisconsin Rapids, right in the middle of the state. We're
Oh,
kind of
okay.
like due east of you.
Yeah. I was just curious. I
Yeah.
used to I lived in Wisconsin, and
Okay.
I worked in radio broadcasting.
Ah.
Anyway, I should look you up on Type Pals, send you a note.
Sure.
Greg, I don't think I've been on since I bought my house in October of 24.
No.
Yeah. So I bought a house. I'm a new homeowner. And
Congratulations.
thank you. But I came to terms with how many machines I moved here with. It was over 300. Like,
Wow.
it's a lot. So I've got them in my basement, and they're all organized on shelving. And the holidays were good. Between November and December, in just a month, I sold 22 typewriters or something like that. It was a lot. So people really want typewriters at the holidays. But I'm noticing that the springtime, people want to do things, and so typewriters are moved a lot in the spring. So I've been collecting machines for 9 years. It started with one, then it stayed reasonable for the first couple of years, and then that was 2017 I bought my first machine, and then by the time the pandemic hit, I had 60, and then by the end of 2024, I had over 300. And the pandemic was just like this opportunity to go and buy. And, a lot of places like shops were closing, just like antique shops, and people were clearing out their basements and stuff. So, but I buy and sell. I'm on Instagram as Typewriter Alliance. My Facebook handle is Katie Typewriter Alliance. After I had posted the picture on Facebook, somebody was really awful and sent me a very nasty, explicit message so I changed my name to just Katie Typewriter Alliance. Anyway, it's been a good winter. Been really enjoying working on typewriters. I have a workbench in my basement, and I think one thing that I want to mention to anybody that's working on typewriters is to get really good lighting. And you can get just an LED hanging light for about $35 at the hardware store, and it'll last you forever. I think I have a nice little show and tell here that is not something we always think about. It's called a Pop Ease stand. This thing is so cool. So it's a stand, and it's very metal, which I love. I love metal, and it's so cool. Look at this. Do you see how this will go down the page? So you can adjust this. It's just a really lovely thing. So Cop Ease.
So it basically keeps track of the line that you're on.
Yes.
That's nice.
This thing is over-engineered, and it is awesome. And I think that I love this. It's made by R. Funk and Company in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. So you can put your page up here. You can adjust this stand, and then it's got the spring mechanism that goes down the page, and then you can just slide this back up. You can put this out of the way and put your page in. I think that's really cool.
Wow.
So yeah. And do we want to go see all the typewriters?
Of course.
Let's go for it. I have a nice like this is the top of a hutch, so I put some typewriters in there, and then my house is almost focused on typewriters. I've got a nice stand in here, my John Lewis machines. John Lewis is the best. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I like to, so I set up typewriters on my dining table. And so I sold 2 last night. I've been pulling out typewriters all over the place. So we actually have a dedicated type bar full of typewriters. I got to get in here and turn on the lights. So I think this Burroughs is one of the most beautiful typewriters. This is a broadcasting typewriter, a RCL, and Lexicon came from Green Bay, Wisconsin. So I've been getting my typewriter ribbon tins set, ready to go. So things have kind of gotten a little bit out of order, but yeah. So I have a lot of typewriters.
Wow.
It's overwhelming. But yeah, so I'm trying to get them organized by brand and style and things. This one belongs to William.
So what percentage of those typewriters are your personal collection, and what are ones you're selling?
I'm only keeping about 30, and I have 260 or so right now. So, and then so that's what you see when you come down the stairs. Is
Wow.
It's a lot. It's a lot. And this is a little bit messy right now because I'm selling a bunch of stuff on eBay. But yeah, that's quite the view. And then I've got my workbench, and I've got typewriters in boxes from when I moved, and they're just wrapped in paper. And then yeah, it's good to have good lighting. This is just not too expensive, and it's just a nice setup. And then I've got an array of chemicals here and air compressor. So yeah, that's the typewriter stuff going on here. It's just like the house is kind of getting taken over by the typewriter business, but I enjoy it. And the other thing that I collect is these ribbon tins and the typewriter ribbon advertising tins. So they have different brands and different manufacturers, and they're wonderful. In my old place, I had them all on a magnet wall, So like this one's really old. This one's an Underwood, and this one's probably from right around 1900. So
Wow.
really cool stuff. And then I collect advertisements, and so I've got a forthcoming gallery wall of all of my advertisements and stuff. So
Wow.
yeah, let's see, what were your questions? You were asking what's my favorite typewriter?
Yes.
Well, the one that you're using. I mean, really, the one that you're using is the machine that is your favorite. It has to be, because you need to enjoy it. And if you don't enjoy it, then what are you even doing? But I do love the Bluebird 18B from 1961. That is one of my favorites. And then my Facet T2, I just finally got one of those last fall in Wisconsin, actually. And then the Hermes Rocket or Baby, depending on what year it's from. But the Facet T2 is always here. Whenever I sell something online, I put this machine to work, and it is so smooth. Really a fabulous machine.
Wow.
I mean, smoother than butter. You will not find a better typewriter than that. Guaranteed. I know it. I know for a fact. I can say this without question.
Yeah, that's a
So,
beauty.
yeah, it's understated, and that's the point.
Yeah.
So,
It reminds me vaguely of the SM9. Just minimalist design basically.
it's wonderful because you can just reach down here and do a couple things, and you can take the whole body off. It's really something
Wow.
else.
I
Yeah.
would actually say closer to the SG3 as a
There
potato
you
Yeah,
there
salad.
you go. There you go.
yeah.
Thanks, William.
So, the typewriter that you're using, a Facet T2, the Bluebird 18B, and a Hermes Rocket. But also, we were talking about green ink, and I've got a Smith Corona Silent Super, and it's got black and green ink on it right now, writing to Clarence. So,
Nice.
well, there you go. That's and overcoming my typewriter addiction, which is it's a thing. But
Oh yeah.
if you just stop looking, which is impossible, you'll get there. But the more that you sell them and realize how overwhelming that is, just don't do it. Just stop. Just stop.
Yeah.
Just use a typewriter and you're good.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, if I could add something, Katie inspired me to mention something. One of the things that I developed that I've used at a couple of type-ins and typewriter kind of events that I have, and I don't know if this will show up or not. Hopefully it will. Yeah. Um, yeah, I use this. I'm getting some glare on the screen. But one of the things that I talk about when I go to type-ins or do a presentation is how important typewriters were to communication of all sorts through most of the 20th century. For newspaper work, for authors, for playwrights, everybody used typewriters. And so I used actually, I think it's Richard Polt's description of typewriters and their typewriters, and found pictures to go with it, and put it together in a poster that I just had printed at Walmart. And it really does attract a lot of attention, and it kind of gives people a good like a little deeper understanding of, wow, yeah, typewriters were everywhere for so long, and it's a useful thing for if you do a type in or something like that.
Yeah. That's wonderful.
Um, Bob, I actually sold a 1946 Royal Arrow to a young journalist who put an ad on Kijiji in search of a typewriter. She wanted to get a feel for what her forebears or predecessors had to write on before laptops. And so met her in a coffee shop in Calgary, and it caused quite a crowd of people around us watching us type. Okay, I have to bug out for a few minutes. I'll be back. So carry on.
Okay. We'll carry on.
I was
Excellent.
going to interject and ask Bob if he has the file for that poster, if he wants to share it, because I do type ins. It would be great to have that poster.
Yeah, I do, and I can send it to you. I don't know if I should send it to you directly. I know I can find your email address just from the
Yeah,
videos that you have
yeah,
and things like that. So
yep.
yeah, be
Okay,
happy to. And
I
anybody else
appreciate it.
that does those kind of events. One of the things I remember the first type in that I attended, and one of the coolest things about it is that when there are a bunch of people in the room typing, it like transported me back in time 40 years to my newsroom days when a newsroom was just a cacophony of this clattering of typewriters. And one of the things I remember most vividly about that is that I was there when we switched over to computers, and the difference from one day to the next, and we did it in a 1 day turnaround. That was the stunning thing, was the silence that was there when we went to the computers, that versus that 20 people all typing at the same time. And when I went to that first type in, it was more than just me typing, and it's like, wow, it was like the newsroom all over again. Time machine.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, that poster is awesome. So thank you for showing that. That's
Yeah, well,
beautiful.
I'll give credit. I'm pretty sure it was Richard Polt's website that I got the list of names of authors, and
Yes.
I tried to pick a group that was diverse, gender-wise, racially, in terms of careers. There's some screenwriters, some newspaper people, some authors, a bunch of different people. So yeah, I mean, Joe, I'll send you the file, and if anybody else wants it, just shoot me an email or something, or catch me up on TypePals,
There you go.
and
There you
and just
go.
send your email address, because I can't send it by a TypePals letter. So yeah, I'd be
And
glad to share it.
Type Pals does have the messaging that you can
Oh, they
message
do.
other
That's right.
devs.
That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I never think about
I
that.
don't
But yeah,
think it allows you to attach a file,
attach a file. Okay.
but it would be a way to reach out to
A
you
way to
and then
connect. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, for sure, for
Yeah.
sure.
As y'all have been talking and covering a bunch of interesting things, I've been typing away some notes here. Like, I'm going to talk to Bob about this. I'm going to ask Kitty about that.
Oh, that's so cool. Well, feel free to chime back in at any time, whenever you want. These are like mostly casual meetings we
Mhm.
have, so yeah, I encourage people to speak up if they want. Because again, I really don't like calling on people. I feel like a teacher, and I don't like that feeling.
I was going to interject and say, hello, Mike Durling. I appreciate One Type Page. I'm glad you're here.
Well, thank you,
Yes.
Joe. Thank you, Joe. And thanks for shout out on one of your videos. I think we got a couple new typists
Oh,
joined us
good,
from that.
good.
So that was really good. Thank you.
Very
I
cool.
Yeah,
read One Type Page every day. I don't contribute all the time, but I love read. It's part of my daily morning ritual is reading
well,
One
great.
Type
Thank you.
Page.
Yeah. Yeah. You always wonder, there's maybe 200 subscribers, but you never know how many people are actually reading. So
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah. How long have you been doing that now? Because I know you kind of took it over, right?
yeah, I was helping Daniel out for a little bit. Then he was wanted to shut it down. He was ready to shut it down. And I said, well, I'd take it over. So, because he was just sort of got burnt out on it, I think, for a while.
Yeah.
So he turned everything over to me. I guess it was probably 2 years ago.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And I've been
Very
running it
cool.
ever since then. And it's not a lot of work.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to read through stuff and make sure nobody's, you know, doing stuff. And I probably let through stuff that shouldn't, but um, but it's been, you know, it's fun, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's been quite a while since I contributed. I think I did maybe one or two. So it's overdue. I need to get back on there.
Yeah. Yeah. Love to have you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Now I'll say I'm not familiar with that. So, Mike, could you tell me where I would find that?
Well, it's well, you can go in the on Richard Polt's page, and I think it's one of the type,
Okay.
things listed, but it's one type page, all one word.com.
Okay. Oh, okay. That's
And
easy.
it's usually don't get a lot of contributors these days. It was something that Daniel Merlot started in 2020 when people were locked down and needed something to do.
Okay.
And so we got a lot of interest back then, and it's waned in over the years, but we get a couple. There's two or three people that contribute almost every day, then a few more that are
Hmm.
more or less casual. But
It's
it's
really
fun.
fun. Like David Caroli, who types under the initials of DBK.
Yeah,
He's a surveyor, lives in Northern California, and he was doing his whole series about calculating the digits of pi with a mechanical adding machine. And that's just been so much fun to
yeah,
read those pages.
it really has. It's crazy the effort he's gone through. But I think it's just obviously you can in 30 seconds you can find it online, but it is just the actual doing is the fun thing. And he collects these old mechanical calculators that are really interesting machines. I don't know if I'd have the room for one of them, but with all the other stuff I have, but always have to make sure we don't collect more things than we have room for, but we do it anyway.
Yeah. And how are you doing on the typewriter front?
Um, I think when was the last time I bought a typewriter? I think well there was the Corona 4 I got. That was probably about a year ago, and then there was a Remington noiseless mill typewriter.
Hmm.
That was kind of interesting. It doesn't have the /0, so I'm not sure. But it was 1942, so it was just at the start of World War II. So it was probably for the Navy or somebody. But anyway,
Okay.
but
Okay.
as far as collecting, and I'm trying not to collect because I mean they're just everywhere here, and and I'm tripping over them in the attic, and typewriters isn't the only thing I have collections of, although I suppose it's the most recent thing that I collected in earnest. But um, typing wise, I'm kind of catching up on some things. I mean, there was a while there where I just didn't get a lot of typing done, and then I've
Hmm.
sort of gone through and typed. I think I've answered all the letters I have. I have some postcards I've got to answer and things like that. But then, of course, people answer your letters, and so it starts all over
Yeah.
again. But I think I'm a lot closer to being caught up than I have been in a long time. So that's good.
Yeah. I remember you were into um shall I describe it as alternative printing techniques such as letterpress, and I think there were a couple others. Are you still doing that?
I have I have two letterpress presses, which I'd use
Wow.
for my return addresses on the envelopes and things like that,
Okay.
and letterhead. Um, there was a thing. There was a book I got about mimeograph and stuff like that. It's called Cheap
Yes.
Copies, yeah, which is real interesting. But I had this one little thing that I never could quite get to work, and it's the hard part is finding the right ink and everything like that. But and then the whole mimeograph stencil thing, I never, I had some stuff that I bought to try to create the stencils and make the wax, but I never followed through on all that. So
Yeah.
it's interesting, but
Yeah.
and then of course I've got to find something to to write about that I want to duplicate it in mass quantities, and who would I send them to? I guess I would send them
Exactly.
to type
Yeah.
files. But typewriters are easier because it's one at a time.
Yeah. Yep. Unless you get that carbon paper.
That's right. Yeah,
So Mike, did I hear you right that you actually have a letterpress in your home?
you have two of them.
Oh my.
Yeah, and they were just sort of chance finds at antique shops, and then um, one is the chase is sort of the frame that you put the type in,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's not as you can't really set type this big, but it's 6 by 9 inches, and of course you have to have
Okay.
borders around it for the things to lock the type in. And I found another one that's sort of 3 by 5, which is actually a lot of fun just to do little things, and then that's good for envelopes and letterheads and things like
Hmm.
that. So
Yeah, for
you
sure.
know, and I didn't, they weren't expensive
Hmm.
when I got them, and of course, people that saw the first one I got and told them how much I paid for it. It's like, oh,
I believe Andre has a comment or a question.
So on that topic of return addresses on the envelopes, most of the typewriters that I started with were sub 12-inch carriages, and I couldn't
Mm.
quite get, the type
Yeah.
as far into that kind of top left corner as I wanted to. And my handwriting's terrible, which is partially why I'm into typewriters. And just discussing some of these kind of problems with a buddy of mine, and he was like, "Oh, you, why don't you just make some like custom Avery labels?"
Mm.
So I ended up, picking up one of these packs of little. I don't exactly remember what the dimensions are, but
Hmm.
just pulled a little typewriter kind of vector image
Oh, cool.
off of Google Images and put that on there. So now it's and these are just kind of transparent, um, sticker material. So I just rip one of those off, slap it on the envelope instead of having to pull out one of my 12-inch carriage machines and make sure that it's all right and it's transporting properly because not all my platens are nice and soft. So sometimes things get a little wonky when you got thick piece of material and you're trying to type in that top left corner. So that's been a nice little kind of quality of life upgrade
Yeah.
in the past few weeks.
That sounds good. I want to give a shout out to one of Joe's videos that was transformative for me. You had the video about making envelopes.
Yep.
But she makes cards and stuff like that. Yeah, that's exactly that. And it's like, oh, well, that's great. So I've been making all these envelopes and everything. I don't make anything with real fancy papers, but it's good to have custom sizes and things like that for different things. And I make them for her cards. And, um, I got some, I have a bunch of envelopes that are invitation envelopes that I use for half sheets of paper. Well, then I got some, what is it, A5 or A6 paper or whatever it is. They don't fit in that. So I have to make custom envelopes. So it's like, oh, I'll just pull out that and make that. So that was just something that's really helped me a lot.
Yeah, I make custom envelope sizes for half US letter size sheets of paper. That's kind of
Sure.
what I'm making. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Well,
my favorite
yeah.
envelope size are these 6 3/4 size. I just feel like when I'm just writing something short to a friend, I don't feel the need to kind of go on and on if I'm doing a full 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. And then another problem I was starting to have was trying to kind of accurately place the ship to address in
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
center. So I got two of those transparent Avery labels and stuck them together. And so this is just
Hmm.
my
Okay.
address on there. And so what I'll do is I'll physically kind of hover that over, put a little pencil line on there, and then that's how I know how to kind of start where it needs to be. I do need to make a longer one though, because my name and address is very short, and so things have looked a little kind of wonky, but another little just kind of quality of life hack. People probably have better ways of doing it, but that's what I've found so far.
Works. Yeah.
That's a good one. I like that.
One of the things that I saw when I first got into Type Pals is how creative some of the members are with things, and I kind of like felt, wow, I got some catching up to do, So one of the things that I did do is I created my own little rubber stamp that I had made, and hopefully, let me get it for the camera. Can you see it? Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
It is.
Oh,
So
that's
yeah,
awesome.
the little piece of clip art and a little bit of type. So.
So I was
Oh,
using Avery labels for addresses, for return addresses especially, and then I noticed several of them started to peel off. I think one of my letters might have lost the return address.
Mm.
So then what I'm doing for address labels is I'll grab a scrap piece of paper. It might even be the backside of someone's letter that, or maybe an old random typing, but I'll just basically type my address, the recipient's address, cut it out with scissors, and then I use a glue stick. And I glue stick it to the envelope. But that's kind of my current solution is just a glue stick, a little typewritten thing, and that works for me now.
So I hate glue sticks with a burning passion, and I came across these Tombow little
Yeah.
adhesive rollers. This one is the quote unquote dots. It's movable, positionable for the first few minutes, and then after that, the adhesive cures to a more kind of permanent hold. And I've actually been using that a ton for photocopying my outgoing correspondence, because my problem when I first started with TypePals was I would get something back from someone and not really remember what it was that I had sent to them. So I figured, okay, I need some way of making copies of what I've sent out and archiving them. So what I typically do with outgoing correspondence, I just put a tiny little strip of the adhesive on the back of my piece of paper, um, tape it on or adhere it temporarily onto a sheet of 8.5 by 11, chuck it into my printer, just make a photocopy, and then I archive that. And I have these little uh, binder boxes that are designed, I think, primarily for film negatives. Joe, you'll probably be familiar with these. They are totally enclosed, so you don't get any dust on your negatives. And as once a type pal and I have had maybe 3 back and forth rounds of correspondence where I think, all right, this conversation's got some legs to it. Then I add another divider on there, and then I can go back, and if it's been a little while since I've spoken to somebody, I can flip back and look chronologically. Okay, here's the course of the conversation we've had, so I don't cover the same things over and over again.
Andre,
That's where
I'm so glad that you do that, Andre, because I just thought like I do that too, but I just figured it was because I was old.
I found what works best for me is to make a PDF scan of each letter that I send out and a scan of each one that comes in. And then on my hard drive, I have a file for type pals. And then elsewhere in the world, in the UK, in the US, in Canada, and then each one has a separate file for each member. And then I put the PDF scan of my letter to that member and that member's letter to me in that file, so I can put them up at any time.
Oh, wow. That's very cool. I'm I'm very haphazard. When I first started doing the letters, I was making copies and stuff, and I was like, that extra step is just going to discourage me from doing it. So I'm just not going to make copies. So now I just rely on my memory, which is not the best, but it's I look at it like, back in the old days, other than using a carbon sheet, they weren't making copies, so you know they
Well, carbon paper
relied on
works.
their own memory when they were exchanging letters. So, I'll try that too. And it's
When I
working,
was
so
when I was young, I remember Mum always used a sheet of carbon paper and a plain piece of paper behind every letter that she typed to friends and family. But
ah.
then she was the daughter of an army major, and everything was kept absolutely in order. So she had a filing cabinet of all the correspondence and all the carbon copies, and I'm not that organized.
Oh yeah. Yeah, my
Yeah,
method is very haphazard.
I scan mine but I also print them out and put them in the folder together, and so at least I have the both sides of the conversation. But
Oh,
carbon
okay.
paper, but carbon paper would work. They still make that, I guess. You can still get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I actually
Yeah.
used white carbon transfer paper the other day with some
Oh
Ooh.
my.
Yeah.
white craft paper to I'm getting so many reflections. Um, there we go. I don't know if
Very
you can see
nice.
that, but
That's very
it
cool.
came out
Hmm.
looking really cool.
Yes.
Yeah. I love
That's
And
that.
nice.
now I can't claim complete credit for that. I did see a post on Reddit that I then decided to copy, but it looked really, really interesting. And I sent it to a friend of mine. We do like a monthly darkroom print exchange, and I knew that she would really appreciate it. So
So that actually makes me think of because I assume they're big sheets, right?
I would say like A5 size is what
Oh,
I
okay,
typically
okay. So
use.
like
Yeah.
essentially like a half sheet. I
Uh-huh.
was just thinking you could basically use it like a glorified I don't know if everybody's familiar with correct type, the little
Mm.
sheets that you insert in the typewriter and then
Mm.
retype your
Use it
error
all the
Yeah.
and
time.
yeah to make corrections. So I guess you could use that the same way.
Mhm. Yeah,
I
it's
might have to go.
also funny with some typewriters that are a little bit more
Oh
aggressive.
yeah.
They've kind of punched out some of the O's and stuff, and
Yeah,
but I've kind of kept a hold of these. I don't know exactly what I'm gonna do with them. Maybe put them in like an Altoids tin or something. But the impression that they leave behind is quite funny.
yeah, exactly. What were you gonna say, Joe?
Oh, I'm gonna have to get me some of that white carbon paper and experiment with it.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
you'll get a video out of it too. I
Yeah,
hope.
hopefully Mr. Bezos' shipping company does a better job of shipping it to you because they sent it to me in a bubble mailer and it's all wrinkly
Uh,
and the wrinkles, the
mm,
creases did kind of transfer over onto it.
Oh,
yeah.
Wasn't enough for me to complain and, get my money back or anything. But next time if I order some more and that happens again, I'll probably pitch a bigger fit.
yeah.
I
Very
have to throw
sad.
in my favorite Dilbert cartoon that I've ever seen has to do with the subject we're talking about now, and it has to do with the pointy-haired boss talking to the group of employees and saying, "For years we've been telling you that our employees are our most valuable resource." He says, "We've actually studied that now, and we determined that they're number 8." And then somebody says, "What's number 7?" And he says, "Carbon paper."
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's awesome.
So the first thought that came to my mind when I saw that white carbon was an old song by Three Dog Night. The ink is black, the paper is white. Together we learn to read and write. Well,
Very cool. Excellent.
We haven't heard from Daniel or Ann, not to be that guy, but
Better you than me. But yes, Daniel, how are you?
Oh, hello everyone. I'm well, thank you.
Good.
Um, I'm sorry I missed the first hour, but something else was going on, so happy to be there for the second hour.
Yeah, definitely.
And good to see a lot of you. I was listening to the conversation about archiving and so on and so forth, and so many of the tricks that I got on archiving came from Joe. So Joe's videos, which he actually named recently how many videos he's made, and it's a huge number of videos. It's hundreds and hundreds. So Joe's it's all in his time. It's all this contribution to the education of the typosphere. So it's well appreciated.
Thanks. It's
Um,
about 480 something typewriter videos and over 1,000 total. So,
Wow.
anyways, thank you.
I should have remembered that number, 480. That was the address of the farm when my parents' farm. So it was
Oh.
an easy number to remember.
Yeah.
I do use
483.
Oh, okay.
okay. Okay, well then that's the neighbor. Um, I do use those stamps. So this is an ink stamp, and you use little letters to build your address, and that's what I use for my return address. It's fast, and I don't get into the problem of my some of my typewriters have a very aggressive card holder in plastic, and sometimes bend the corner of the envelope. So doing that good, but for typing in the middle of the envelope, I use the trick that's in my typing method, which is a small envelope like what Andres showed is 13 lines down, and the big envelope is 14 lines down, and center and left by 5 spaces. So that's kind of like what I use for addressing. And sometimes I make a mistake in counting, like counting the lines. So it doesn't come out exactly. But I think all of my letters, except for one postcard, have arrived at their destination. I'm aware of one postcard that never got to New York City to one of our dear friends there, and I still don't understand what could have happened to that postcard. But well, one for the record. Um, so Gregory, to answer your question, lately, um, I've been working with the National Library of Canada. It's called Library and Archives Canada. And they were looking to acquire some typewriters for their collection. And I was able to work with them to provide them some typewriters that will be used at the library by the public going to visit the museum for typing, and also on display in what will be a heritage space where there will be typewriters and some of the printing equipment, like what Mike has described, what Mike does in terms of small printing presses. They'll have that too at the library. And so I'm quite happy with the work done there. I chose some really good typewriters that are reliable and easy to repair and that are in really good condition. And so now some of my typewriters that were in my collection are in the collection of this National Library in Ottawa. So
Wow.
yeah, I keep talking about that because I got a lot of I spent a lot of time, but I got a lot of pride out of that to be able to do that. Um, and yes, some of those typewriters that are there, I really like them. I really love them, but I think because I love them, uh, it's because they were so good, and they're going to be good for the people that are going to use them there. So it's not just hugging all those typewriters all the time. Uh, some of them now are like I don't know, like on their own there and will be used. So I'm quite happy about that. It's
Wow.
a good project that I worked on. It doesn't happen often in one's life, but I was there at the right moment at the right time, and um, in fact, it is the result of organizing 7 type-ins last year that I got known by them, and that's through the type-ins that we got visitors and so on and so forth that they contacted me. And if it hadn't been for the type-ins organized um, with the Ottawa Public Library, which is the city's library, then the National Library would probably not have known that I was around, and I would have not have known that they were looking for that kind of project. So it all kind of is connected somehow, and those type-ins is something that I think through the typosphere. Um, for a long time, I was dreaming in Ottawa to have one of those, and well, it wasn't going to happen until somebody decided to get it done. And again, I mean, on YouTube, I had seen some reports of type-ins. I had seen some people talk about type-ins at here on Type Pals. And well, Joe, again, some of your videos were helpful in best practices for type-ins, and I've really used those. Um, and we have a small group now of people, volunteers that help with the type-ins in Ottawa. So it's going nicely, and I look forward to another year of those type-ins. It's probably going to start a little bit later this spring and in the fall. So the fall is a big time uh, because we were latching to November, the month of writing, um, the Writers' Month, and there's a lot of activities around that in Ottawa for writers. And so we kind of go on that part of that whole month of activity for writers.
Very cool. Very
So
cool.
that's pretty much what I've been up to, and the collection is pretty stable. Actually, I have less typewriters, I should say, now than, but I'm not looking necessarily for acquiring typewriters like I did in the past, and that's that. I'm more like using them than buying them.
Yeah, yeah. I was kind of forced into not buying typewriters. Well, partly because of the room, but then also uh Southern California is a horrible market for typewriters. The prices are just crazy now. And I I can't even tell you the last time I saw a typewriter in a thrift store. There's some antique malls where you can usually find typewriters, but those tend to be a little overpriced. So yeah, so I was forced into retirement of buying typewriters, but that's a good thing because I have around 40, I think. Most of them are in storage, so but yeah.
It's a good point you mentioned that um, like the market exploding, and that probably means that a lot of people are going back into typewriters, but also here in Ottawa, it reflects in the prices too, because people Google, like, let's say typewriters on Etsy, on eBay, or elsewhere, and then they see those prices that are advertised in certain markets that are hot, and then they that's the asking price. They start with those prices here, or they look at some of the websites of the people that service typewriters and sell them. And these are, like typewriters that have been serviced, cleaned. Some of them have new platens, and then that's the price that they're asking for. But then an old typewriter that has not been cleaned, that is not working that well, is going for that price. And well, but they stay up on Facebook Marketplace for a long, long time until they start going down a little bit. But um, it's amazing that it went from a market where $20 would get you a typewriter to like now it's 125 or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, so good to see you, Daniel.
Well, good to see everyone too. Thank you, Gregory, for
Of,
organizing this
of course.
this today.
Yes. There's Anne. Did you want to say hello, Anne?
If I can figure out how to talk on this thing.
Oh, you muted yourself. It looks like we either get sound or picture.
One or the other. Well, I'm in the Portland area. I've been collecting about 7 years. I have about 30 typewriters, but it was my son who got me into it. He bought me my first Smith Corona Silent. He has probably close to 200. He goes by the traveling typist and does public typing all around the city and for events and types poetry. And myself, I collect portables. Like I said, I have about 30. I'm trying to downsize to about a dozen. I use them for art and correspondence, mail art, that type of thing. But I really enjoy the Type Pals, postcard exchanges. I do a lot of letter writing. Just really enjoy the older technology. I don't have to figure out what program to use or plug it in. I know how to change a ribbon and do basic maintenance, so I'm good to go with the typewriter. And I just enjoy, like I have a typewriter tin collection, all kinds of typewriter ephemera. And once you get into it, you see it everywhere. So, yeah, it's just been a lot of fun, and I enjoy the community that everybody that uses and collects typewriters are generally good, decent people and friendly and ready to share information.
Yes, yes. I don't know if I missed it, but did you mention how many typewriters you have?
I have about 30 of my own portables. My son has probably close to 200, everything from a music writer to a book writer to we uh, went together and bought a Vogue typeface. So he collects different typefaces and also foreign language typewriters. So we sent a cursive typewriter to an artist in Singapore who sent us a Thai typewriter. He just did a typewriter exchange with a fellow in Korea to get a Korean typewriter. What he's going to do with them, I don't know because he doesn't speak any of these languages.
Yeah, yeah. Excellent. And I had another question for you. Oh, what do you have a favorite typewriter?
My favorite is the one I'm using right now, which is an Olympia SM9 with a congressional typeface and what they call a international keyboard, a European international keyboard. So it has brackets and the pound key and the dollar sign. Well, yeah, it has some special keys, accent keys, and so on. But I really like the way it types. It's a workhorse. I can get it to accept postcards and things like that, different types of art that I do.
Very cool, very cool. Excellent. Well, it's so good seeing you, Anne. And I see your name all the time for the postcard exchange, so I love it when I see those names over and over and over again. This is actually a good point to remind everybody. Uh, the next postcard exchange, the latest you can sign up is April 19th. So be sure and sign up for that. And you do have to be a TypePals member. Of course, membership is free, so you can sign up for TypePals and then join that postcard exchange. That's once a month on the third Monday of the month, if I remember correctly. And then I'll also mention that the next TypePals monthly meeting, which is this right here, is going to be on May 3rd from 10 to 12 Pacific. And I did check this time to make sure that it's not that it's not on a holiday. Originally, I had this one scheduled for Easter. I figured, well, people might have other plans. So yeah, but we have a great turnout, so that's awesome. Yeah, very cool. I don't know if you saw the cat over my shoulder. That was Jenny. And then sleeping over there is little Alice. So we have two sister cats.
That's not even my cat. That's the neighbor's cat.
Oh,
Her
that's
sister is
hilarious.
in a cardboard box at the moment.
Oh.
My two cats are upstairs, but these two are downstairs with me.
Oh. Wow.
And while I don't have a cat, I will say that the main character in my novel has a cat. That's a black and white cat named Callie. And somebody said, "Why is it named Callie? It's not Calico." And they said, "It's named after my calligraph." He says.
That's awesome.
Well, Rich,
Excellent.
I'm going to sign off. I have to go to the typewriter meeting we have here locally. So,
Yes, yes.
anyways, good to see everybody.
Good to see you
Thank you so
too,
Fantastic.
Joe.
much,
See you
Joe.
next
Yeah.
month here
Yes.
also. May 3rd, right?
Yeah.
Yes, yes, May
Okay.
Have a
3rd.
Thanks
fantastic
for doing this,
afternoon.
Gregory, and
Of
hello
course.
to everybody.
Take it easy, Joe.
Bye, Joe.
I'm heading out too. We'll see you next time.
Bye,
Okay.
Bob.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much.
Good to meet you, Bob.
Good meeting you too.
All right. Um, I see new face, Matt. I don't know if you want to chime in. If you don't, that's okay. But we'd love to say hello to you.
This is me figuring out how to unmute myself. Can people hear me? Is this
You
darn
did
thing
great.
working?
What's that?
Yeah, I'm assuming that this is working and people can hear me.
Yes, yes.
I joined Type Pals maybe a month ago. I have gotten a couple letters and I've sent a couple letters.
Nice.
And I thought I'd tune in to just introduce myself because I'm completely nutty about typewriters. I don't know. I noticed that one of the things we have on tap is show and tell. So I
Yes.
thought I would show my first ever typewriter. I don't know if you guys can see that. This is a pretty ordinary looking typewriter. I bet you everybody here has one like it or very similar. My question is, does anybody have one with three margins?
Oh, wow.
One, two, three.
Huh. I wonder
Um,
why that is.
One of them or two of them are regular margins, right? Like the margin release lever will get you past them. And one of them is just a little bit thicker. So it's like a hard, like if you want the absolute edge of your paper to be somewhere other than the edge of the carriage, you could use that margin.
Oh,
And it must not have been a very good idea because very quickly they went to just two margins like every other typewriter in the world.
yeah.
So Matt, which one of the margin that you showed is the hard one? The extreme right?
Um, I believe, let's have a look here. Yeah, I believe it's one. Looking at it, it would be on the extreme left. So I
Okay.
think this one here is the edge. This is the regular margin, and then the other side has a regular margin. And obviously, here's the carriage release lever. So I show this one because this is my first ever typewriter. I got this
Wow.
one. I don't know if you can see. My girlfriend lives in Dryden, and Dryden is about 10 miles away from Groton. And I'm assuming people here know that Groton is the home of Corona typewriters
Oh, okay.
originally. So she bought me this typewriter, and within about literally 5 seconds of owning it, I managed to get it so jammed up it was completely non-functional. And so I learned that it's really awful to have a typewriter that doesn't work. And then a few hours later, I managed to figure out how to get it unjammed, and I learned how awesome it is to figure out how to fix your own typewriter.
Uh-huh.
And this is about 2 years ago, and I've just been chasing that feeling, trying to find broken typewriters to try to get the feeling of fixing a typewriter and just how great that is.
Oh.
And until you fix it, it's awful. And just the feeling of, oh my gosh, this thing actually works now. Holy smoke. I can type a letter with this thing. This is a 1914, so it's more than 100 years old. What do you got there? Somebody showing me something.
Oh no,
So
please
anyway,
continue, Matt. I didn't mean to interrupt.
oh, you're not interrupting me. I'm babbling like a weirdo. But so yeah, so I am super. It was so much fun to get this guy working. Um, and it's pretty and shiny and types good and is more than 110 years old.
Wow.
So we're super excited about these. And so probably for the first couple of months, I bought I'm sitting there with maybe half a dozen Coronas, all of which were broken when I got them, and all of which I managed to fix. So frequently they have obviously the drawstring is incredibly delicate. I've pretty regularly had to fix the drawstring. A lot of them have feed roller issues. So getting the carriage off and the roller out and getting a new feed roller in was an interesting task. And obviously just learn how to clean them. So I think this might have been a good typewriter to start with because it's kind of simple. I sort of felt like the people at Corona said, let's reduce a typewriter to its most basic form. And so I started with this guy here. And then I tried my girlfriend's Smith Corona Silent. And I learned that those are real, real nice typewriters. And the thing I love about the Silent is, when I got it, I played around with it. I just love to play with it. And I discovered that the ribbon drive only worked in one direction. And people here probably know the amazing miracle of a Smith Corona, where you just flip it over, look at the bottom, and everything you need to fix is right there. And that was a great thrill to realize with my bare minimum knowledge and a little screwdriver, I can fix the ribbon drive on a Smith Corona Silent. And so I spent probably I think of this as like my second season. So the first season for me was all about Coronas and Smith Coronas and trying to find, like, I don't know but I'm assuming most people who collect typewriters are looking for nice ones in good condition. I'm looking for broken ones. So I found I don't even want to tell you how many, but a bunch of different broken Smith Coronas. Obviously, we started with this 5 series, but I discovered that with Ted Monk's Bible, I can figure out how to fix all the floating shifts, all sorts of weird problems with them. Um, Obviously, watching the Joe Van Cleve's video on he's the guy, you know how to find it. And of course, he's the one who said, "Hey, if it's not in a video, go find Ted Monk's Bible." So he should have gotten a commission for that. Um, and so for me, sailing season is the opposite of typing season. So once I'm at the point where I got to deal with my boat, I'm not going to deal with typewriters. So my second typewriter season started with I discovered my girlfriend had an Olympia that she'd taken the platen out of, and she couldn't get the platen back in. So I decided, I guess I got to buy an Olympia and figure out how to get the platen out. So I bought I got it over here somewhere. I got a nice little Olympia 3. I found out later that her Olympia was an Olympia 5, so I wasn't even buying the right model. But you guys probably know that the platen comes out the same on an Olympia 3 and Olympia 5. So I figured
They
out how
are
to get the
not the
platen out
same.
and back in. What's that?
They are not the same.
Yeah, no, but as far as making the platen go back in, I figured out how to get that to work.
Yeah.
And like I said, I haven't really played with her 5, so I don't know all the details, but the same kind of thing happened. Once I learned that I can fix an Olympia SM3, I really wanted a list broken Olympia SM3s to fix. And you probably all know that the most common thing are the little rubber bushings.
Suspension,
So
yeah.
it's kind of cool to buy a typewriter that somebody thinks is completely busted and broken and all messed up. And with very little time and money, you can turn it into a nice little typewriter. So I'm a fan of the Olympias. I really like the 3s. I like the 4s. And more recently, I got into the 8s and 9s. And I
How do you
find that in
feel?
my area, what's that?
How do you feel about the Traveler, which is actually my personal favorite, but it's kind of the modern
Um,
looking one, very boxy and
I don't think that I've have one or seen one. I
okay.
did buy I did buy actually 2 SFs. Is the Traveler must be in the same family as the SFs, or is it more
They're kind of
recent?
their own thing, actually.
All right. So I don't know what that is,
Very,
but
very angular.
Yes.
I have great luck with the SMs, all of them, because I find people who have videos that show me how to take them apart and get them working again. But I love it. Like I look at that
Yeah.
typewriter and I just get a warm feeling.
Yeah.
Like to me, I think that's about the prettiest typewriter ever made.
Oh.
Um,
That
I
was my first.
Yeah, and I love it. And of course, I'm not a huge fan. Coming from floating shifts, I wasn't a huge fan of the carriage shift. But does matter. Love it anyway. Um, Obviously, it's really cool that on the 8s and 9s they made those guys to be basket shift, and that works really good. Um, I don't love. I think they're kind of ugly, an SM8 or an SM9, but I don't care. Honestly, I think in terms of a typewriter that if you just want a tool to type something, I don't think you can go wrong. And again, they're fun to fix, if there's something wrong with them. And so that was most of this year, trying to find broken Olympias and trying to fix them. Um, I when I have typewriters at work, I like to give them away to my friends and family if I know someone who's going to actually use them. I find people don't really want the little Corona 3s, but people like Smith Corona Silent Supers, and my mom, I gave her a Corona 3, and she thought that was cool because it reminded her of her dad. And then I gave her a Remington 5, which she liked because it reminded her of her aunt. But then she saw one of my Olympias and she's like, well, forget it. I want your Olympia. Just because, as everybody knows, you put your fingers on Olympia, suddenly nothing else will do. um, and so I'm going to admit something. So it's like I started as a guy who's really just interested in the history and the mechanics. And then I guess you call me a minor tinkerer, really love trying to make a machine work that doesn't otherwise work. Um, and then you just want a typewriter that really works great. And I think a Silent Super works really great. I've had several Sterlings, twos, threes, fours, and fives. All are just fabulous. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of Olympias. So maybe a month ago, this is actually pretty recent. I decided my girlfriend is more of a collector, so she wants working machines that are different from something she already has. And I believe it or not, I found someone who sold me a Hermes 3000 for 99 bucks. And I didn't really want to get into it because I don't want to get sucked in by the Hermes thing because they're expensive and they're hard to find. But I'm like, you know what? For $99, we're gonna try it. Um, and it's like it's too much hype. Is it really gonna live up to it? And yeah, the Hermes is pretty darn fun to type on. It's really fun to put your fingers on. The one I don't even know how, like, the only thing wrong with it is the little wire paper holder inside the case was busted. And other than that, the typewriter was basically mint. Like nobody had ever used it because the paper holder was busted. So I had a real good experience with the first Hermes. Um, and then I decided to buy one for myself, and I discovered Hermes are really, really, really hard to fix, at least for me. They're really clever, and I can see that you could get used to how they work, and like they're kind of interesting to learn about. But I am in the sort of getting over, just getting past the learning curve and just starting to feel comfortable working on Hermes. So I had one. I find that they're a little expensive, and like if somebody sells you a broken Smith Corona, you know it's broken. They tell you what's wrong with it. My experience, you can get a Hermes that you think you're buying a good typewriter and you're not. You're buying a broken one, and they charge a lot. But they are fun to fix. And so I ended up with one that just had to be the parts machines for the other ones. Um, so the very first Hermes I bought for myself, the silent returns mechanism wasn't working, which of course doesn't matter. And if I was smart, I would have just been happy and used my typewriter. But I'm not that smart, and I took it apart and tried to fix the silent return thing and managed to break. I don't even know how I did it. There's like a little nub that pushes down the release for the escapement, like if you want to do your carriage release, and I broke that thing. And so I had to take it out of another typewriter to get it working. And then another typewriter I bought was missing. Like I'm used to them, but they're a little, obviously everybody knows the weird margin controls on the Hermes 3000. And the little lever that actually adjusts, like connects the little piece that you can pull with your finger to the actual margin, which is missing. So I had to take it out of another typewriter. So I don't feel bad. If a typewriter gives parts to make two other typewriters work, then I call that a win, even if it was sold to me as supposedly a working typewriter. So that was me. I try not to take too much of your valuable time to introduce myself and tell you where I'm at in my world of typewriter fixing.
That was wonderful. And I can hear the excitement you have for typewriters, and it's getting
It's a
me excited in
sickness.
them all over again.
Like, I don't know how it happened. I mean, it started just as, well, I like history, and upstate New York has got a little bit of history. And then it was, wow, mechanically, they're kind of interesting. And now it's like, you know, the world's going to heck if we can't get some typewriters working so people can talk not digitally.
Exactly.
So I'm just trying to keep them in service and trying to find people who really want them and really will use them, mostly friends and family. So I appreciate that you noticed.
I really think you're lucky. New York State had a lot of
Mhm.
manufacturers.
Mhm.
I have a Remington 10 from 1915, which was built in Ilion, New York. So the plant is, people can still see where the plant is to this day. It's no longer there, but as a manufacturing plant, but the building is still there. And I didn't hear you mention Royal, but Royal is another manufacturer that is based in well, the I guess the head office was New York City. And if you really want to try like some of the quiet deluxe from the mid 40s to early to 1945 to 1952 are probably the best in my view. And a standard, like a bigger machine, the Royal FP, is really, really something that types wonderfully well. So you talked about portables, and I agree that portables are easier to store, or they take less space, and you can put them away. And once you get into a standard, it kind of needs its own space permanently or something like that. But yeah, Royal is another good company from New York State to try if you ever run into some of them. You know,
For me, it's like if I buy a typewriter, I'm not going to buy just one. So I'm like, I want to know everything about this kind of typewriter. So I need several examples so I can compare them and understanding. And I've sort of been putting off Royal. My girlfriend, one of her very first typewriters is an HH, which she really, really likes. And she let me borrow her, is it the Ventura? The 400? It's a more modern design. I think that's a
Futura.
Futura. Yeah.
Futura.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Futura.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, I guess it's your first experience. So, like, the example of a Royal that she let me borrow was, yeah, pretty good. Example of the Smith Corona that she let me borrow was fabulous. So, just by that first impression, you know, I became a super fan of Smith Corona. And, you know, like I said, if I want to get into Royals, I'm going to want to own about 10 of them and really understand the models and how they work and, how to fix
Right.
them and what can
Or
break. And
or or you do like me, and then you listen to what people say are the best ones, and that's just the ones that you
I
buy.
try to find one. Yeah. And I think that, like right now, I have some real good typewriters to type on. So I think maybe I'm at like, there's sort of a cycle, right? First, you're curious, then you kind of get into it, then you get excited, and then you learn more about it. And now I'm like, for a while, I'm like, I just want a typewriter that just types really, really well. And now I feel like I have several typewriters that type really well. So I'm, believe it or not, I'm going to stop buying typewriters for a little bit and just kind of enjoy the ones I have and like
Yep.
use the ones that I have. Honestly, reason I'm on TypePals is, well, what am I going to do with these typewriters? I guess I got to start writing letters to people. And, just, and also my girlfriend has plenty of typewriters that don't work, and I can spend maybe the next year trying to work through her catalog of typewriters that still need a little bit of help.
I was just gonna
But
say that that's like a match made in heaven.
yeah,
She
yeah.
loves to collect and you love to repair. So
And she does too. And she has problems like today. I think it was I want to say a Facet. She had a typewriter and she had it all apart. And I'm like, I'm not even sure. If this was a Smith Corona, I have real good advice for you, but I don't know how to fix your Facet. So, sometimes I can be really helpful. Sometimes I'm like, I helped her get her SM5 working, you know. She has better judgment than I do, so she tends to buy machines that work. But we have a ton of Smith Coronas, and a lot of them have details that aren't working quite right that we can go back. And I think maybe our next phase is like, I'm a guy who can take a broken typewriter and turn it into a working typewriter, but I'm not a guy who can take a pile of junk and turn it into like a mint, like I'm not a restore guy. So I think our next step is we have a couple Smith Coronas that are like, they're working, but they're just kind of rough. So I want to learn how to paint the body panels, because they're just kind of crummy looking. I've never taken the type bars out, But I think that if we could get all the type bars out and like really, really deep clean it, we might be able to get them so where they're like real snappy and not just like they work, but you don't love them. So I think maybe that's our next step, to really get up to our elbows in some that need more than, like fix the drawband or change the, the feed roller, or honestly, probably 80% of the things I've done have just been clean it thoroughly, you know. But it's an adventure. I've discovered so many weird things, like, you get all confused. And like, you probably also know this. The feeling of typing on a typewriter is great, but the feeling on typing on a typewriter that you fixed, it's like, that's what I chase. That's what I'm looking to feel like. So anyway, that's me, you know. So just
Very
wanted to
cool.
tune in, briefly and introduce myself. I noticed that you've got the sort of perpetual Zoom call going, and I'm likely to tune in at like, I come home around 4 o'clock Eastern time, which probably way earlier than anybody else is on. But I may tune in to just sort of like your ongoing Zoom, sometime 4 or 5 in the afternoon Eastern time, just see if anybody's around, because I like
Yeah.
to talk about
And you can
computers.
always message other people and coordinate something to meet in there as well. Because that one's unhosted. It's available,
Yeah,
24/7.
I'm just
But
hoping to get
sometimes
lucky
if
every
you
now
go
and then.
sometimes if you go in there, no one's in there, and it might get a little
Yeah, which
discouraging.
is
But
fine.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm just hoping to get lucky. Honestly, I just like talking about typewriters,
yeah,
as you may have gathered. And
yes,
like, obviously I'm all of your fans, like I really admire people who really get it and, have nice machines and know how to fix them and, get why they're important, you
yeah,
know, and, you know, it's one thing I do want to say that's kind of weird for me. It's like typewriters are amazing because they're analog, they're just, old school, you know. But the weird thing is, I learn about them from YouTube. I buy them from eBay. I find out when they're made from typewriter database. I order my catalogs, or my repair guides. So it's like, you know, trying to get out of the digital world, you need the digital world.
yes, exactly.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so you and your colleagues have been tremendously helpful to me,
Oh,
for the past couple of years. Just like, you know, like reading about it is helpful, but I've had problems that are really weird and really obscure. But somebody made a video with like 15 views with that exact typewriter, with that exact problem, and you're like, oh, I would have never figured that out.
yes,
So
exactly.
YouTube is my friend.
Yeah, even in these meetings, we've had as many as like I think maybe 20 or even a little more people on screen at one time, and someone has an issue with their typewriter, and we've walked them through the repair right then and there. It's been amazing. Yeah, so
I
very
don't want to
cool.
be the annoying guy who's taking people's time with a lot of questions, but I want to be the supportive, helpful guy who, can chime in. And I've seen a few problems. And like I said, I've started to get into the Hermes and I've seen some kind of weird things about Hermes. Um, I, my girlfriend has a Hermes. It's one of the curvy ones. Um, the silent return feature does not work. Like it makes a ratchet sound. If you lift the front of the typewriter like a tenth of an inch, it works perfectly. Like I haven't got a theory on what could be causing that. So that's what I'm doing, trying to chase down really, really, really weird ones.
Yeah,
I had no theory on what was wrong with my margins until I figured out how to get the things off the side of the, carriage. But
yeah,
yeah, like I said, I'm not a guy who loves, this is kind of selfish, but I love to see you guys on YouTube, but I don't really love being on YouTube. So I'm more likely to show up for your non-recorded meetings, just hoping to run into somebody.
Okay, but you are okay because this is going to be
No, I
posted
get
on
it. I
YouTube.
get
Okay.
I get the conditions under which I'm appearing today.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I guess mostly what I want to say is, you want to know more, write me a letter.
There you go. There
I'm
you
the
go.
guy with I've got a, you saw her. I've got the tuxedo cat on my avatar.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. Excellent.
You will find me. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys being so nice and friendly.
Thanks,
You're
Matt.
welcome. You're welcome. Andre, I saw you holding up a typewriter. Do you want to show that real quick
Yeah,
before we?
one machine that I think does not get enough credit or type, I should say, are the electric type bars. I was watching some old Phoenix typewriter videos. May he rest in peace. I learned a lot from Dwayne. But yeah, these have just been so much fun to type on. They have that kind of snappy action that I associate with a lot of Smith Corona machines, but I don't have the finger strength to touch type with all 10 fingers on most manual mechanicals. Whereas with these electric type bars, especially the Smith Coronas, I have never been able to type fast enough to get the type bars to jam. And what the effect of that has on my actual user experience is that this is oftentimes my drafting typewriter, in that there's such little um, interruption in terms of the actual input of information because I can go so fast. I don't care if I'm making a ton of mistakes. I typically will do 1.5 or double spacing so I have enough space in between the lines of text to be able to do corrections with a red pen. But this just gets out of my way, obviously, with the exception of the manual carriage return. But having tried some of the ones with the motor driven carriage return, unless you've got a really, really good, conditioned rubber feet on the bottom or a very non-stick rubber pad that it's sitting on, the whole thing's gonna kind of shift on you or knock over a coffee cup or something. Um, but they've been a ton of fun. The only modification that I made to it was just with a pocket knife, was adding a couple of like grooves on the F and J key to
Home keys.
resituate myself.
Oh yeah.
Because with the manual mechanical, since I'm going, pretty much just like these three fingers, uh, I don't have that much of a problem. But when I'm touch typing, I need to have some kind of tactile, home position on the F and J key. So with a lot of the electronic daisy wheels, I've got a brother correcto ball, like kind of type ball style, poor man's IBM Selectric. With this, I need to kind of carve a little groove in the F and J keys just so that I can more accurately touch type. Otherwise, my fingers start wandering, and then I start having to use a whole lot of correction tape.
Yeah.
A little bit of
Excellent.
super glue and a little droplet of super glue and some baking soda added
Ooh,
to the droplet will will make a little bumpy dot.
that's a good idea.
And
That is a good idea.
if you prefer the bump to the groove, um, yeah,
I'd
it's
never thought of that. I will try that out on the next one that I end up getting and report back. But
and make a small droplet because
yeah,
you don't want like too big because then your fingers are gonna get tired of this thick like
Exactly.
pea
Yeah.
size. You don't want a pea size. You want like the tip of a pin of a
yeah.
needle almost. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
One other
Very
thing,
cool.
if y'all will permit me a quick little show and tell,
Yeah.
I really gravitated towards that A5 size, as I mentioned before.
Yeah.
And with that kind of came these little A5 size six ring binders where I've got typing paper. I don't know the grams per square meter of this off the top of my head, but I buy it on Amazon. It's slightly off white. I really enjoy the quality. And then I've got some line paper for doing, writing, though I definitely do type a lot more than I write. That's kind of the paper source. And then once I get home, if I am typing out in public, then I start archiving them in a little binder that's got a hard spine. Eventually, I'll put some sort of label here of, okay, this is 2025, 2026, maybe some dividers by month. But very much so encouraged and influenced by Joe Van Cleve, I started getting into the portable thermal electronics with the thermal paper, and the brand Fomemo makes a bunch of thermal labels with the adhesive backing on them. So you just, slice it off when you need to, and then peel off the adhesive backing. And then I stick them onto, I don't know if the color difference is going to be able to register, but here's the edge of the thermal adhesive label, and then I just put it on the normal online paper backing for archiving. One thing that I started thinking about was, I don't know, being a photographer, I want to show images of these typewriters, but I don't always have easy access to prints of the different things that I want to reference. So utilizing that kind of same technology with the thermal printers, I ended up picking up from Fomemo one of these little, Bluetooth thermal printers that use the same rolls of paper that I put through the typewriter itself. This happens to look like a little envelope. And my idea is to use them to make little QR code stickers that in outgoing correspondence to my type pals, if I want to reference something that's visual in nature, instead of typing out a URL that someone's going to have to manually type in, I can print out a little QR code and put it in as a sticker so that I can have some sort of somewhat easy visual aid if I don't have, all the time in the world to actually include a printed 4x6 or 5x7 or anything like that.
So, Andre,
Yes.
talking about denoting the home keys, when I was using Dvorak, what I did was to put a small piece of Dymo tape on the home keys. I
Good
ran
idea.
the Dvorak key map for close to 10 years on my computer. And of course, the standard Shoals key map has the home key markers on the F and the J, whereas
Yep.
Dvorak, your home keys are U and H.
Do you find that, what was your experience early on when you were switching over to it? Did it require a lot of retraining your brain?
Not really retraining, but using the Shoals or the QWERTY keyboard, I was averaging 15 words a minute.
Mhm.
After switching to the Dvorak, within 2 weeks, I was up to 40.
Wow.
Yeah. My first wife tried. Well, I could never find anybody who could explain why the keyboard was set up the way it was, and it seemed so illogical to me. I had several people trying to teach me how to type, all with failed success. Just got frustrated with me until my first wife, did some research and found that the US Dvorak was actually programmed into the keyboard languages of the Windows 98. And so I bought a low-cost keyboard, took it to pieces, reconfigured it to Dvorak, and went from there. See, it wasn't until I got interested in typewriters that I realized that, and I knew why the Shoals key map was the way it was. Then I was willing to go back to the Shoals map and stay with that.
Is it to minimize type bar jamming? Like it intentionally slowed you down a bit? I that's what I've heard. I don't know if that's just an urban legend or.
Now that's exactly why the Christopher Latimer Shoals key map was invented, was to slow the typist down and move commonly used type bars or letters away from each other. Because if you ever noticed, the Shoals key map is very left-hand dominant, and most people are right-handed.
Yeah.
So they're using your less dominant hand to do most of the typing. Whereas the
Yeah, I never thought about that.
Dvorak is pretty well split half and half. When you're typing Dvorak, your rhythm is almost always left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. So each hand is complementing is complementing the other as you type.
Mm.
Excellent.
In that case, then what's the deal with the QWERTY instead of QWERTY? Like, is it that big of a difference? Like one key change?
Ask somebody in
Well,
Europe about that one.
but for German, I mean, the Germans don't use Y as much
Mm.
as English does, and there's a lot more Z in the German, words than it is, and that's not the only change. The most QWERTY keyboards have acute and grave accents on the upper right side, which is a dead key, and also have the hyphen at the very lower row to the right, much more accessible than if it's hidden like at the top.
Shift 8.
And so QWERTY has more than just the Z and the Y changed places. There's more differences also where the parentheses are and so on and so forth. And it's a very, very standardized keyboard. Once they set it, that the QWERTY is very, very similar across companies, across models. So once you learn the QWERTY, you can switch to any machine and you pretty much have the same layout,
Yeah.
which is different. It's not the same as American machines versus European machines in QWERTY. So like you have your backspace and your margin release sometimes at different ends of the keyboard. I mean, you get used to it, but at first it's a little bit different.
Mhm. Yeah, I have a Smith Corona memory correct daisy wheel electronic that's very much so not fun to use. The keys are mushy and it's just not a fun machine to type on. But it does have all the accents, a little C with the squiggle. I don't know how to say that in English.
Idea.
That I can use to type letters to, family in Brazil. But yeah, as I mentioned before, made in Brazil, Olivetti Laterra 32 with a Portuguese keyboard is definitely the holy grail for me.
Very cool. Well, we do need to wrap up here. I have a couple of hungry cats that are waiting for their lunch, but this has been awesome and it's definitely going to continue monthly. So I want to thank everyone for being here. And over the next 2 or 3 days, I'm going to edit this video, just light editing, and then post it on YouTube. And I'll probably add our we had this really cool song that I was using when I was doing the podcast. So I'll probably include that as well because I miss hearing that song. So and it's a really cool song about typewriters. So
What
yeah.
was the podcast, Gregory?
What's that?
What was the podcast?
It was Type Pals podcast.
Podcast podcast.
Yeah, and stopped paying for the hosting for it, so I think you can't even access it anymore. I just need to basically take those episodes and find a new home for them that maybe is hopefully free, and then I'll repost those. But other than that,
Mm.
I'm gonna be just doing this. So
Would posting them on YouTube, like there's obviously no video and stuff, you can just have the logo on there, but would that make sense?
yeah, that's one thing I'm definitely gonna look into. Yeah.
Mhm.
Because it's a shame, I put a lot of effort into those. I was really proud of them. So I definitely want to get those out there again. So, yeah.
Yes. Ju- just quickly, Matt, I did send you a message in the messaging chat about the 3 margins on your typewriter.
Maybe I didn't see it. I'm seeing a thing here about
It was to you
the
personally.
Olympia Platens.
Yeah, if you go, I think
You
Greg
tell I'm
knows how
not
to.
that sophisticated. I see the
Okay.
list of participants here.
If you click on yours, you should find the message I sent you.
Because there's the general messages, and then
Yeah.
if someone sends you a specific message, then you have to click on theirs to basically view that conversation.
Try
Let's
clicking
see if
on
we can
mine.
figure that hang on. I think I might be able to figure this out eventually. No.
Do you have the chat window open? Because if you go down to the bottom,
I got chat window over here on the side. Maybe I'm not looking at it right. Yeah, I can see the participants. And
so in the chat window, there's a little icon that says everyone. And then if someone sent you a private message, there should be another icon just for that person. Right there in the chat.
that's I'm trying to figure out. I see a number 1 there, which makes me think there must be a message. But can I read it? No, because I don't know, not that sophisticated apparently. That's just my preferences. Because I did see something that you were telling me about what you about those 3 margins, but it kind of came and went. There is a video somewhere on YouTube where someone else has one with 3 margins, so I know mine's not unique.
Can I suggest if Matt is still struggling, that you send it through the TypePal private messaging?
Okay, I'll do that.
Like just a suggestion.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion. Otherwise, I just saved the chat, so I could even forward it to Matt.
Okay.
But if
Actually, I'm reading it right now. My first thought about the 3 margins is for what I believe is called the hanging or hung paragraph writing style. Yeah, actually, I did do that. I did try to make it. I for a while I was typing like that, so that I was sort of using the second margin kind of like an indent. You can play with it like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's more or less how it works. That's very, very cool. And like I said, I don't see it on any other versions of the Corona 3. So I suspect it was something that they thought was cool and then decided nobody really liked. But thank you very much. I appreciate that very much.
Or it could have been an option. Could have been an option. Can be configured when the buyer orders the typewriter. Can say, I also want this, and they'll make it for So
that's true.
There's also, back then, customization was available, which is not like what the customer wanted. The customer could have.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention, this typewriter came with a letter to Miss Wilda Overheim, who must have been the owner. This is from L.C. Smith and Corona Typewriters, Inc., Groton, New York. And so it actually came with a letter to the owner explaining to her how she does not need to write to New York for parts of Pennsylvania. So I thought that was really cool.
Very cool.
Getting a typewriter where we actually looked her up on Ancestry. We know who this person was, and she apparently took really good care of her typewriter for a long, long time. And I just thought that was really cool to actually know who had this typewriter to begin with.
Exactly.
And she must have loved it if she took such good care of it, and it's still shiny. And she's like, she used it so much she had to get spare parts to keep it working. I thought that was really cool. So I just thought I'd mention that really quick too.
Yeah, definitely hold on to that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks again, everybody. This has been a pleasure, and it was a pleasure meeting some new faces and seeing some familiar ones. So thank you so much, and we'll see you next month.
All right. Thank you, Gregory. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Click clack on the ribbon, little bell at the page edge ring. Names I never have spoken, still I feel every word they bring. Coffee stain on the paper, blue ink where the thoughts run wild. From Kingston out to Kyoto, every line got the little child smile. Type piles all around the world, all around. One small key for every girl and boy. Letters like a long slow song unfurled, postcards carrying quiet joy. Type piles all around the world, send love from my hands to another land. We write slow, let the feelings curve, till the page feel like golden hand. Wind blows through the shutters, stamp pressed on a painted sky. Smudgerine on the corner, still the stories stay warm and dry. Same moon over your rooftop, same moon on my old front step. We trade days like little treasures, folded up in an airmail breath. Type pals all around the world, all around. One small key for every girl and boy. Letters like a long, slow song unfurled. Postcards carrying quiet joy. Type pals all around the world. Send love from my hands to another land. We write slow, let the feelings curve till the page feels like a holding hand. Click clack, heartbeat. Click click clack, heartbeat, heartbeat. Ink flow, thought grow so speed. From your street to my street, we meet in the space where the paper and the palm greet. Type pals all around the world, all around. One small key for every girl and boy. Letters like a long, slow song unfurled. Postcards carrying quiet joy. Type pals all around the world. Send love from my hands to another land. We write slow, let the feelings curve till the page feels like golden hand.